Wednesday, 15th of April. I was going to read these questions that children have written for God as part of a fun thought for today. But actually, as I read them, it started me thinking. Profound thoughts. Not easy for me. So these are my thoughts for the day. These are questions that children were asked to write to God. Dear God, are you watching me now? Glenn. Dear God, how do you decide who to be nice to? Are you only nice to good people? Some good people aren't happy, so why aren't you nicer to them? Love, Ruth. Dear God, why aren't you friends with the devil? My teacher says he used to be an angel. Did you have an argument? When we argue at school, the teacher says we have to say sorry. Would you let him back if he said he was sorry? Maybe then he wouldn't do all those bad things. Thank you, Lee. Dear God, when will it be the end of the world? I know it is going to happen, so I want to know when it is so I can get ready. I'd like to have enough time to say goodbye to everyone. Are you going to make another world afterwards, or are we just going to go to heaven forever? Yours, Henry. Dear God, we all drew pictures of what we think you look like and we put them on the wall of the classroom. I drew you with a happy face. Love, David. Dear God, why can't we see angels anymore? You used to be able to see them, but now you can't. Dear God, my teacher has asked me to write a letter to you. I don't know what to say. I have lots of questions, but I know you can't write back. In the Bible you talk to people, but that was a long time ago. I don't think you do that now. Last week we read about Abraham and Isaac. I didn't understand why you wanted Abraham to kill Isaac, his son. I understand that Abraham wanted to do what he was told, but it was wrong to kill his son. It seems a difficult thing to ask someone just to test him. Dear God, who made you? Carl. Dear God, where did I live before I was born? Dear God, is heaven in the sky? How does it stay up? Dear God, which way is it to heaven from here? Dear God, thank you for sending Jesus here to tell us what to do. That was very nice of you. Love, Jane. Well, the profound thoughts I was having amounted to this. When I take a deep breath, and whenever I speak of that, I mean centering our thoughts on the presence of Jesus. I mean, be still and know that I am God. When I take a deep breath and I'm really putting myself into that deep breath to recognize that Jesus is present with me. If I could see him, if I could sense his presence so closely that I just knew he was right here, right now, what would I say to him? I pray. I often talk to God, to Jesus, but in a moment of depth, thinking about those children's questions, I asked myself, if Jesus walked into the room right now, what would I say to him? And I ask you the same thing. If you became aware of Jesus' presence in a tangible way, Is there a question you've always wanted to ask him? What would be your first words? And what would you want to tell him about yourself? As if he doesn't know already. But in your conversation with him, what would you say? Maybe your first reaction would be like that of John in Revelation, when he says, "When I turned to see who was speaking to me, I saw 7 gold lampstands, and standing in the middle of the lampstands was someone like the Son of Man. He was wearing a long robe with a gold sash across his chest. His head and his hair were white like wool, as white as snow, and his eyes were like flames of fire. His feet were like polished bronze refined in the furnace, and his voice thundered like mighty ocean waves. He held 7 stars in his right hand, and a sharp 2-edged sword came from his mouth, and his face was like the sun in all its brilliance. When I saw him, I fell at his feet as if I were dead. But he laid his right hand on me and said, 'Don't be afraid. I am the first and the last. I am the living one. I died, but look, I am alive forever and ever, and I hold the keys of death and the grave.'" If Jesus appeared to me like that, I think all I could do would be to fall at his feet and worship. But in my deep breath moments, when I remember that Jesus called me friend, when I'm feeling insecure or alone or uncertain, or I have questions, then I ask myself, what would I say to him right now? And that's my thought for you today. Find those moments, stillness, away from screens, away from busyness, and hold out your hand to Jesus. Ask him the question on your heart. Tell him that which is burning in your soul, or just tell him how you feel. He says, "Don't be afraid. I was dead, but I am alive, and I'm here to listen. Talk to me. I'm your friend." My prayer is you find him today and take a moment to talk to Jesus. Let me know what he says to you. Bye. See you tomorrow.